Okay. It's an honor to share Divrei Torah with everyone over here. It's really, despite the fact that I had to dig deep into my closet for a coat and borrow a scarf, but I don't mean to make anyone jealous over here. I myself grew up in Montreal, and it's wonderful seeing snow over here, but I think all of it, thank you, I think all of it really equals out with the warmth that I see in the community over here, and the tremendous Mesirat Nefesh of Mr. Lugasi over for the Kollel, and all of the Avrechim and everyone else who really put lev and nefesh, heart and soul, in building up a Makom Torah. How important it is that a community has a Kollel, that from the Kollel is really the lifeline, the arteries. It's the pumping of the blood into the whole community. It's the pumping of the ruchniut, of the spirituality in the whole community. I have to tell you, it's something that you should appreciate and you should not take for granted. Not every community has the privilege of having it, and you should take as much advantage and tell your friends to take as much advantage of the amazing opportunities that you have over here. So that being said, I was given the topic tonight to speak about Moroccan minhagim. I don't know how many over here of the crowd are Moroccan minhagim or not. Even of those who are not of Moroccan origin, I'm sure you'll find certain interesting information that we'll share tonight. Let me tell you a little bit of a background how I got into the topic myself. That I grew up in a community in Montreal where basically the only difference between Montreal and Morocco is the land is a little colder. Otherwise, it's basically the same. And when I left for my yeshiva education, in some places I was the only, not only Moroccan, the only Sephardi in the whole vicinity, I would say, and that many people, they questioned a lot of the customs, a lot of the halachot that I took for granted. The halachot that I took for granted, they basically were questioning, which led me to try to dig deeper and to find what the mikorot, what the sources are. Are there proper sources? What those sources are? Should we continue on keeping them? Or maybe we should just become one big melting pot? Or is it proper to keep those minhagim? And what are those minhagim? And do they have a consistent basis to them? So all of these questions led me to look more into the subject. And interestingly enough, the more I looked into this subject, the more I found that these customs actually have very strong basis in halacha. They actually have very, very important reasons why they're done. And we don't have much time tonight, but with the time that we have, I'll try to give some examples after I get through a little bit of the basic information and background, that I'll give some examples to show how consistent those minhagim are and how they really have tremendous importance in the upkeep of those minhagim, whether it's in Chutz La'aretz or whether it's in Eretz Yisrael. So number one, where does the custom? Why do we have to keep custom? Where does the source customs come? When I say customs over here, is that you have to say there's a difference between the minhagim of halacha and minhagim of couscous. In other words, I'm not coming over here to speak about what they serve on Friday night, or if they stand in the mirror when they're all these a lot of, I would call them superstitious minhagim. I'm trying to weed those out because that's not where my forte. Not only my forte, a lot of them I feel they didn't come with the encouragement of Rabbanim, and a lot of them are downright asur. It could be that they're asur. I mean, one example is that there was a minhag in Chanukah that they would have bonfires, and the people would jump over the bonfires. Rav Yosef Benaim, one of the great Rabbanim of Fez, said that was an isur of darkei imori. That's not a simple stuff. Those are just some examples, and I'm not going into those customs. I'm going into the customs that are brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll see how a lot of the minhagim that we do are brought down from the poskim, from the great halachic deciders. So where do we know that we're supposed to keep minhagim from? It says in the Gemara Masechet Pesachim that there was Bnei Baishin. It says that certain people from the city of Baishin, they went to one place and they said we don't do work on Erev Shabbat. So he said if that's the case, You should stay in your minhag, like it says, Al titosh Torah timecha. Don't deviate from the Torah that your mother taught you. Minhagim go from the father. It's another discussion. Now the power that a minhag has, it has a halachic validity. It has a halachic power to it. The power of, just like we have a concept that a person accepts upon himself a neder. A person accepts upon himself a vow. So too, a person keeps a certain minhag. He has the obligation to keep it further. It has a halachic force to it. Not only that, if a community accepts upon themselves a minhag, no less, the Shulchan Aruch in Yoreh Deah, Siman Reish Yud Daled, those who want to look it up, says that a community who keeps a certain minhag, that translates that the next generation has to keep it. There's examples of Nidre's reason for those who want to get into. There are examples in Halacha of things that are customs that one has to keep. Now, let me give you an example, a custom that a person has to keep and he's forbidden not to. Any custom that's coming as a fence in order not to violate a certain something. What's the most famous? Not all at once, yeah? Kitniyot, right? We know that Moroccans didn't eat certain kitniyot, mainly rice. Very different than Ashkenaz minhag. The Ashkenaz minhag is not to eat any kitniyot, and there's different reasons than the Moroccan. The Moroccans really didn't eat kitniyot because they were afraid of things that might get mixed in. There are some Moroccan Rabbanim that felt that if you clean it well enough, in certain areas, in certain cases, you'd be able to eat it. There was Rav Yosef Mishash had a discussion with some of the Rabbanim about it. But kitniyot is something that once the Moroccan community started keeping that, their children have to keep that. Then they're not allowed to violate that minhag. They're not allowed to violate that minhag. I had an ongoing discussion with the author of the Sefer Yalkut Yosef, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, the son of Rav Ovadia Yosef Shlita, Gaon Rav Ovadia Yosef Shlita, regarding minhagim, because there was a certain how would I call it, style that started going on in Montreal, that certain synagogues started saying, you know what, we don't have to follow the minhagim anymore. We could do our own thing. So what's our own thing? Well, Rav Ovadia says always to keep Maran. So what do they say? They opened up Maran in Shulchan Aruch. Maran says that everybody has to be quiet during the Gdisha and Arizah. Only the Chazan says Magdisha. That's what they started doing. I go into the shul. I say, it's very weird. What other synagogue does this? I used to be very pray in the same minyan with Rav Ovadia Yosef. I would go to his house and pray in Har Nof. Even he does not Gdisha out loud. So it was the whole Chazani, the whole community does it. Why? Because they follow the Arizal over here. That's the custom. These people, they start doing their own thing. They start leaving the tradition. So they start doing things. So I told Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, listen, look what you caught. Look what's going on over here. So he wrote a whole letter, and he said people have to keep their minhagim. He said, except, he says, in Eretz Yisrael. And that is a separate discussion that many of the Moroccan Rabbanim, Rabbi Shalom Mizat and others, held not that way. They said even in Eretz Yisrael the Moroccans should keep their minhag, but that's an ongoing discussion. So he says, however, he told me some people privately, if they want to, it's hard for them, they could do hatarat nedarim of certain minhagim. So right away, I met him the next day in Har Nof. I told him, is it possible even kitniyot Moroccans could give up? He said, no, I never meant that. No, I never meant that. So everybody understands that kitniyot, you're not allowed to be mevatel, you're not allowed to nullify that minhag. Right? Then there's a second type of minhag, which is the minhagim are in tefillah. Positive commandment minhagim, we'd call it. Those are not obligations, but they're almost obligations. Does that sound right? They're not obligations, but they're almost obligations. The Marshdam says this. Marshdam was an early Acharon. He says that they're almost obligations. Yeah. So whatever it is, whether it's an almost obligation or not, it's good enough for me. We follow the minhagim, and we have to. We keep those. We keep those minhagim. Now, by the Moroccan minhagim in general, very, very interesting, a long and detailed history about how they evolved. There was already Jews in Morocco from the time of Shlomo HaMelech. It evolved in some of the teachers that Rashi quotes down as Donash ben Labrat. He wrote Deror Yikra, I believe. Donash ben Labrat and the Rif, Rav Yitzchak Alfasi, he had a student, the Rimi Gash. There was the Rambam was in Fet. There was a lot of Jewish action going on till around the 12th century when the Almohads came. Almohads are a certain group of fanatic Muslims that that came and wiped out the basically with terrible pogroms, and they wiped out the Jewry there, and really was desolate for a little more than 100 years until the Spanish Inquisition. Shnat Rish Nun Dal. Spanish Inquisition, 1492. The Jews were expelled. The Abarbanel writes that in 1492 already, close to 30,000 Jews emigrated to Morocco. Some emigrated to Turkey, some to even Greece, Tunisia, Algeria, very little in Syria, very little in Iraq, Iran. We'll see how this plays itself out in history. Those who were expelled, anybody know what they were called? They were called the Megurashim. They were called the Megurashim. Those who were kicked out of Spain, and they ended up, now the capital of Morocco in those times was Fez. It was the main capital where the Jewish people came, where the Jewish people, they really settled in Fez. And there was a huge controversy already, right around there, we'll say in the 1500s. So a huge controversy between two groups. It was the Megurashim and the Toshavim. Toshavim means the original settlers, and the Megurashim. The Toshavim were there, they followed the Rambam's customs, the Rambam Minagim, and you have the Megurashim, who are like gung-ho, that they're coming from their place. And remember, they had the political savviness, they had the power, they had the money. And so imagine over here, you have America invading Nigeria. It's like, who's gonna set the policies? In no time, that's really what was going on over there, more or less. The Megurashim came in, and they wanted things done their way. The number one machloket, the number one thing that exploded was by the neficha. Neficha is basically the whole subject, as we call it nowadays, glut kosher meat or not. There was a certain way that the Megurashim were very lenient in checking for meat, if it's kosher or not. They would see if there's any sircha, it's called, any phlegm from the lung of the animal that stuck to its wall. They would cut it off and they would blow it and they would see it's okay, it's fine. And so Shavim said that's trait. And there was a huge fight going on between them. And it was more than a fight. This defined who was going to be the winner. And there was one Rav Khan in the middle. His name was Rav Chaim Gagin. He wrote a whole sefer Eitz Chaim. He actually was a Megurash, but he sided with the Toshavim. He said, it's not fair. You can't come into a place and do whatever you want. But the Megurashim won at the end. They pushed it and they won. And most of our Rabbanim nowadays, all of the families, the Toledano and the Verdugo and all the Spanish names, it's mostly from the Megurashim. So Toshavim left certain minhagim. One of the minhagim that Toshavim had is not to do a bracha on Hallel. So till today there's one synagogue, well not today because Fez hasn't hardly anybody there, but there was one synagogue until recently that they would never do a bracha on Hallel because they were from the Toshavim. You know, Moroccans, they remain stubborn till the end. You know, I don't care if 500 years ago we split. We're staying the same shul, and that's it. And that's what it was till today. The Toshavim held their way, and the Megurashim held their way. Now, another important detail before I get into the cases. One other important detail. Okay, we're doing okay on time. Is, in Halacha, the way the Shulchan Aruch, the way the code of law is decided, is basically there are three heavy hitters. There are three main deciders in Halacha. You have the Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, the Rambam, Maimonides, and the Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher. Two of them are Sephardi. One of them is the Rosh Ashkenazi, and the Rosh is and who would you think was the most influential by the Moroccans? The Rosh. How is the Rosh? Who is the most influential by all of these? The Rosh. The Abarbanel writes, Harosh Rabam Shel Asfaradim. The Rosh was he escaped Germany, he came to Spain, and he really was accepted by a lot of the Spanish Jewry, and when there was the we'll call them the Megurashim, they really all came to Morocco, and they were all students of the Rosh. They were all students of the Rosh. So a lot of the Rosh, a lot of his minagim, a lot of his customs were well padded, were well accepted in Morocco. Now, the Shulchan Aruch is decided in a very simple way. The Shulchan Aruch says, I'm going to pick the three of the great rabbis that decide halacha, and I'm going to pick 2 out of 3 of them, and that's how I'm going to decide halacha. 2 out of the 3 rabbanim are going to agree on the same issue. That's how I'm going to decide halacha. The Ramah screamed out, "It's not fair. What happened to all the Ashkenaz rabbanim? What happened to the Tosfot and the Marshal and all the all those? Why don't we deal with them?" The Shulchan Aruch held that most of Klal Yisrael paskins like these 3 rabbanim. So as long as 2 of them are right, that's what we're going to go with. And it's very interesting that in Morocco they accepted this philosophy even before Maran. In other words, they in Morocco already held Trei Migutlat. If you have two rabbanim, 2 of these 3 who follow one way, that's how they're going to follow. Rabbi David Ovadia writes this, and therefore, if there's even before Maran came along, that's how they paskin. So it's no wonder that once Maran came out and his light shone to the world, the Moroccans were the first to accept Maran. Why? Because it was very consistent with their train of psikat halacha, of deciding halacha. They would always follow 2 out of 3. They would follow Rif, Rambam, and Rosh. They would follow, 2 of them follow the same way. That's what they would do. But a lot of customs would go according to the Rosh, regardless, because any customs that were there beforehand, they weren't going to touch that. So, number 1 is that the Moroccans were probably the first and the strongest and most adamant in following the opinion of Maran. So it annoys me when I hear that someone say, "Oh, Moroccans don't follow Maran so often." It's actually quite opposite the case. Let me give you 5 examples where the Moroccans do like Maran and the rest of the Sfaradim don't follow Maran. This is going to surprise you. Number one, Tisha B'Av. Do we wear tefillin on the morning of Tisha B'Av? No. Who says that? Maran. You go to Yerushalayim, everybody wears tefillin in the morning Tisha B'Av. I used to go to the minyan with Rabbi Shalom Misad. He used to scream out at night, "Anybody who brings tefillin here in the morning is not welcome to shul." I used to, one year I davened by the Moroccan minyan by Yechavedat, by Rav Ovadia Yosef. So everybody was wearing tefillin there. I felt very uncomfortable. Because the Moroccan minyan, I didn't go to the main minyan. That wouldn't have been proper. Shmona Esrei. On Shmona Esrei during the Yamim Noraim, the Shulchan Aruch says that there should be one person who says the Shmona Esrei a little bit out loud. You ever heard of that minhag? In many Moroccan communities, they do that. Where's that from? That's written in none other than a very popular sefer in Torah literature called the Shulchan Aruch. Whereas many Sfaradim follow the Arizal over here, that you have to make sure that Shmona Esrei is quiet. Is quiet. Third is Anenu, something that I personally forget every time, is that anytime we have a public fast, the opinion, this is from the Rosh already, that Anenu Avinu Anenu, that said in Shmona Esrei, it's already said Arvit time. Even if you're going to eat a meal right afterwards, you say Anenu now. That's the opinion of the Geonim. Shulchan Aruch paskins that way. Moroccans follow that, even though many don't, because they just simply don't know.
Unfortunately, we don't do that.
Yeah, I also forget every time. but that's another example that Maran follows that, but other Sfaradim don't follow. Does a Kohen, if he's Shaliach Tzibur, does he do Nesiat Kapayim? Does he do Birkat Kohanim? Maran says not, and that's actually the custom. Other Sfaradim, they do. There are other minhagim as well. I'm not going to, in Avelut there are many minhagim that way, and in Trefot there are minhagim that in Morocco, Maran's opinion was very much accepted, and it was adamantly accepted, and that's the way it was followed. And as we spoke about in the history, it's very understood why. It's very interesting. About, I would say, 8 years ago, I lived in Israel. I went to visit Montreal, and the cheapest flight you could find is Olympia Airline. Why? Because they take children for very, very low cost. Free?
Well, whatever.
Yeah. So I on the way back, it never happens, but Ben Gurion decided to go on strike. Ben Gurion Airport. So here we were on Friday. We were stuck in the airport, literally. And we spent Shabbat in Athens. It was a tremendous experience. In the same table over there, we had the Chabad Shliach together with Satmar, Tosher Chassid, that's the north of in Montreal over there, together with a secular Israeli, together with a secular American, and we're all on this. I tell you, there was Sfaradim and a regular yeshiva. They're all on the same table over there. We went to the shul over there, and I noticed this is what it was a very big eye opener for me. In the Bet Knesset in Athens, Athens is a community almost untouched. They follow what they were following 500 years already. Many of the customs that I noticed were the exact same customs that I saw in the Moroccan community. For example, the Sefer Torah is not in a box; it has a cloth on top. They wouldn't do Chazarat Hashat on Musaf. They would.
Very
touchy subject, huh? Oh yeah. You should know that I'm a rabbi in a Persian synagogue. It's 99% Persian. I'm the 1% not, and I never allow half of a Chazarat Hashat. I never allow it. Why? Because they're over there. It's accepted not to. So why get into it? Over there, it's accepted not to do it. In other Moroccan communities, I would say, ask your local Orthodox rabbi. Am I being safe with that? Am I being politically correct? Good. Now the custom over here is, I'm sorry, that when I saw in Athens so many of the minhagim, it clicked right away because who was in Athens came, the Migurashim came. So the Migurashim had the same influence on Morocco, on Athens, and if you look in my sefer, as I went along, Turkey, Istanbul, that whole area, very similar minhagim. Tunisia, it depends which parts of Tunisia, very similar minhagim. Algeria. If you look at the Syrian, Iranian, Iraqi minhagim, very different. Why? Because they didn't have the Migurashim. That's why there's more Edut HaMizrach and Sfaradim. Sfaradim, I would call it more the Maghreb, the whole West African peninsula over there, including Turkey and Athens. All of that is very similar minhagim. You go to Syria, Iran, Iraq, it's not as much. Migurashim didn't get to there as much. It's very consistent in the path and the train of halacha. Of course, we're not speaking about the superstitious minhagim. We're talking about the real heavy-hitting halacha written in Shulchan Aruch. Let me give you some examples to try to bring home the point. Number one, this is an interesting he'ara that I heard, and I think it's very true. It's the following. It's known that the Moroccan custom is to have the mezuzah on a slant, not standing straight. Somebody told me recently that the house of Rav Chaim Pinto Harishon, the original Rav Chaim, in other words, the one who they said a chavruta with Eliyahu Navi. The mezuzah in the house, you can still see it till today. The mark where the mezuzah, it's on a slant. I've been to many Moroccan gedolim, and all of their mezuzahs are on a slant. And the custom is based on the Rosh. The Shulchan Aruch says it should be straight. The Rosh is the one who makes the compromise. It should be on a slant. Okay. Now, very interesting. There's another minhag. If you look in Hilchot Sefer Torah, that the Sefer Torah is not in a box by Sfaradim. It's by the Moroccans. I'm sorry. It's not in a box. It's in 2 amudim, and it's lied on a slant. In the Aron HaKodesh, it's on a slant. Tosfot on the Gemara deals with how the kavod of a Sefer Torah should be. Should it be lying down or should it be standing straight? And it talks about the same thing in mezuzah. Rashi said that a mezuzah should be put like this. Others say mezuzah should be put straight. Yeah. So Tosfot says the compromise is you put it in the middle, and the same way you give kavod to the mezuzah, you give the kavod to the Sefer Torah. So look how consistent the minhagim are. Just like the Moroccan minhag is that the mezuzah should be on a slant. So too, you look at in the Aron HaKodesh, the Sefer Torah is on a slant. Right? That's how it's put. Everything is done with a calculation, and this is not something that's dreamt from some old grandmother somewhere. It's also something respectful. This is Tosfot who says this. Furthermore, for the bracha on Hallel, the bracha on Hallel is, as far as Moroccans who go to Eretz Yisrael get a lot of flack for this. We're making a bracha on Hallel, Ashkenazim only do, not Sephardim. Happens to be there are 3 opinions in the Rishonim. Rabbeinu Tam said that on a bracha of Hallel that is on Rosh Chodesh, or Pesach, which is Chetzi Halal, it's a half Halal, it's only a custom. But many Rabbeinu Tam and others say we make a bracha on a custom. Rambam says you don't make a bracha on a custom. The Rif says that if you're a B'tzibur, if you're in public, you make a bracha on Halal. If you're in private, you don't make a bracha on Halal. So the Moroccans happen to hold like the Rif's opinion, which is very sensible. It's from the Rif. Not only that, the Ran writes that was the minhag of the Sfaradim. The Bet Yosef brings this down, the Shulchan Aruch. It could very well be that Bet Yosef himself, until he emigrated to Eretz Yisrael, till he did Aliyah, he could also be making a bracha on Halal, on Chetzi Halal. It's not, it's a very legitimate shita in the Shulchan Aruch. It's brought down. This was the custom by Sfaradim, and this was kept until today. Why give up such a custom? There's no reason to give up such a custom. I mean, it's already a custom that's around 600 years old, at least. And it's something that's based. If you're in private, if you chas v'shalom miss shacharit and you're davening by the kotel, that means the wall in your house. Yeah, you don't make a bracha. You don't make a bracha on halal because you're without it. Where Ashkenazim they will make a bracha even at home. That's another point. The lighting of the candles. You ever heard people discussing about when women make the bracha when they light the candles? You ever heard such a discussion? The discussion is at most 30 years old. Before 30 years old, every single Sephardi community, excluding Teimanim, every single Sephardi community, and by Ashkenazim, this is a universal custom, the woman would light the nerot, and then she would make the bracha. It happens to be 30 years ago, the Gaon of our generation, Rav Ovadia Yosef, proved from many different opinions that you should make the bracha first and then light. And that's fine for those who follow Rav Ovadia Yosef, but the Moroccan custom doesn't have what to do. I mean, it's not only Moroccan, it was a universal custom by Sephardim and Ashkenazim. And there are many reasons to it. Once somebody makes a bracha, they can accept upon themselves Shabbat according to the Bahag and other opinions. So if you're going to make the bracha, how could you light? It's almost a bracha levatala. Rav Ovadia says the other way around. Rav Ovadia says if you light and then you make a bracha, so it's a bracha levatal to do the bracha afterwards. So the Aruch HaShulchan, I quoted in my sefer, says just the opposite. If you make a bracha and then you light, the Aruch HaShulchan says it's almost a bracha levatala. I wrote this letter to Rav Ovadia Yosef. I sent it through his chavruta, but he didn't want to read because of the blood pressure. Rav Ovadia would get very upset, so he just didn't read it. But it's a legitimate point. And this is what all of the Sephardic customs, the Ben Ish Chai and the Chida, and this is something that's accepted, that you light and then you do the bracha. That way, it's not, the bracha usually has to be before the lighting, but if it's right away, most poskim say that's not an issue. Even Rabbi Ovadia says by Yichud Mezuzah that's not an issue. The question why over here he doesn't say that. That's beyond the scope of our discussion. Right, so even though you usually, that's excellent question, and even though you usually do over la'asiyatan, however, in a case like this, if you do over la'asiyatan, you have a serious problem of or chilul Shabbat or bracha levatera. Because you're saying, le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. And then right away you're lighting. What do you do? You're just lighting when you just make the bracha? There's some opinions, Rabbi Ovadia doesn't follow. He says, no, you make a condition that you don't accept Shabbat, you're fine. But some opinions don't follow that. Some opinions in the Rishonim. It's not over, this is who am I to discuss? This one's right, this one. I'm not there. I'm just defending, I'm just pointing out where the Moroccan minhag came from. This is actually a universal minhag. Yes?
Just a point of clarification. Is the Rav talking about what's the case for women?
I'm sorry. Thank you so much. This is only for women. Because women accept upon themselves Shabbat. By men, they would actually make the bracha beforehand. Yes, I'm sorry.
Lefi everyone.
Yes, okay. Indeed. There's, but that's the halacha. Okay. That would be the halacha. Let's give a couple more examples. A couple more examples. Should I get into some fun minhagim or just well, let me give you from Montreal, this guy. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of something that over the years the minhagim started becoming more and more the minhagim that were felt to not be correct. The Rabbanim would scream out and would say they're not correct minhagim, which just gives more validity to those minhagim who stayed behind. It's those minhagim that the Rabbanim put their stamp on. Once we do Netilat Yadayim and we go to the bread, so certain Moroccans have a custom to do a certain piyut in the middle. Yeah? Lemifta al rifta. So what's a hefsek? On the contrary, it's not a hefsek. You're talking about the bread. The Shulchan Aruch says you can even be talking about the bread as long as the bread's in front of you. You can be talking about other things even. So we're machmer, and we say you can be talking about the bread. So that's what we're doing. Lemifta al rifta. You just got to learn the translation, but that's it. So on the contrary, it's not a hefsek. It's diminishing the hefsek. Now, once you make the bracha, certain have a custom that they say, Hashem melech, Hashem malach, Hashem yiluch melamed, and they eat the bread. You ever heard of this custom? This custom, many of the Moroccan Rabbanim that I spoke to have a problem with. And it wasn't done with their haskama, and they are against this minhag. I spoke to Rabbi Shalom Misas about it, I spoke to Rabbi Yoshua Maman about it, Rabbi David Ovadia. They all come out and they all say that probably the way that minhag started from is that al pi Kabbalah, there are certain machshavot of thinking of Hashem melech, Hashem melech, why are you dipping the bread? So people started saying it out loud. I guess people who knew Kabbalah didn't learn Halacha. In Los Angeles, you have a lot of those who are learning Kabbalah. They don't know any Halacha. I saw over here they also have it. Couldn't believe it. Yeah. As long as you learn Kabbalah, it's okay. And so that's where it came out from. That people would say Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, and then they would eat the bread. So that already the Moroccan Rabbanim many of the Moroccan Rabbanim were against that. So here's a typical example of minhag that's not so in accordance to many to the Moroccan Rabbanim, and they actually spoke against it. So here you have it. You know where to keep a minhag and where you don't. Where you just have to follow the sefer. I mean, not this sefer. Follow the Moroccan part.
So if your fellow did it all the time, you don't do it.
You're asking me a tough question. Rabbi Shalom Mizaz Yeshua Man of David Ovadia said you shouldn't do it. I have a friend who claims that he asked Rav Shalom Mishash, and Rav Shalom Mishash said, well, you know what, if your father did it already, fine, continue. But in his sefer he says not that way. Rav Yeshua Man says not that way, Rav David Ovadia, and it's a very, you'd have to bend over backwards in halacha in order to try to say it's mutar. Put it that way. It's not a simple thing to say it's mutar, because once you make a bracha and then you eat, it's very serious to have stick in the middle. You can never take a cup and say, hey, Robert! You can't do that. You have to taste right away. You can't do that. You have to taste right away. The mitzvah rifta is before you did the bracha of Amotzi. It's between Netilat Yadayim and Amotzi. No, so that's right, because I'll tell you, that's a good question. You're right, but the hefsek is different. Right, but the difference is like this. Over there, it's an excellent question. But the difference is over there. The problem is that we're afraid that you're going to touch an impure part of your body. Hesech hadat. So hesech hadat, as long as you're thinking about the bread, there's not a concern of hesech hadat. But once you make a bracha and you have to taste the food, that's a more stringent hesek. Okay, you made the bracha already. You wash your hands. You did the mitzvah. You just have to be careful. You just have to be careful that you don't do hesech hadat. But once you made a hamotzi and you're about to eat the bread, that's much more stringent. Then you have to be very careful not to do any hefsek at all. Hefsek at all. I'm sure Shulchan we could discuss it. What? Right, because you did the mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim, but by the bread you did hamotzi. You didn't eat the bread yet.
No, it's not. Okay, fine. But you did not taste the bread. Because you did not taste the bread. You made hamotzi. You made hamotzi. You did not taste the bread.
Right. It's
no, why? And you did the mitzvah over there and you said
right. You didn't eat the bread. So you didn't fulfill. No, but you didn't finish bread, and you're making Hashem Melech. That's the problem. If you take the bread and you say Hashem Melech, that's the best thing to do. That's the best thing to do. Yes.
I hear what the Rabbi is saying about the first pasuk of the Mitzvah al-Rivka, but it goes on to talk about the Kala. It goes on to talk about the Malachim. What's the kesher with the bread?
You're right. That's why it's a problem.
Oh yeah.
That's why.
Other people.
That's why it's a problem. Okay. Some more minagim. The fun ones you want. The mimuna. All-time favorite. Anybody knows what mimuna is? Yeah. Now, there's six. I have 6 different reasons of mimuna. There are more, but I have 6 reasons of mimuna. But the Gemara in Pesachim, Daf Lamed, says a story of two rabbis in the Gemara that at the end of Shivat Yemei Pesach, they would say, let's go visit a Chacham and get a bracha. This is the Gemara. This is actually the original custom of Nagim, to go to a Chacham for a bracha. Isn't that amazing? Right. Why the Arizal says that after 7 days of Pesach, the mochin, there's tremendous shefa, there's tremendous abundance min hashamayim that you can receive brachot in. Not only that, the custom, not only in Morocco, but in Turkey and even in Syria and in other places, was to have flower and greenery, because it's a time of bracha that there should be plentiness. So those are the two strong minhagim from Mimuna. Then you have all of the cute ones that they say, well, because you didn't even go out of the house, you don't want to insult the people, and it's the Rambam, and some people say that there's a tribe in Sudan that was exiled, and they came to Morocco, the Timnunians, and then that was the day that they were able to escape. So that's where the Timuna comes Mimuna. And there are some that say that it's the last time Mashiach. Yeah, the Chabad, they do Sudat Mashiach. Then those are the pluses. And those first two reasons are the main reasons I gave. There's the custom of saying of Terchot Sa'adot. Yeah. So where's that guy? Rabbi Yedidia Montenegro, the former chief rabbi of Morocco, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. He said because when Bnei Israel were leaving Mitzrayim, so they had the two waves, so they would be picking all types of jewelry that come from the wall. So each one didn't want to give Ain Hara to the other, like they're taking and their friends. I think they were everything Terpot, I don't know if they said it in that language. That's what he said. That's what do it. Like, where's the makor to the mufleta? The makor is in the stomach. The makor is in the stomach. The makor is in the stomach. Okay, do we still have a little bit more time? What time do we have?
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Okay. I'm willing to take questions at this point. I have some more minhagim to discuss. I'm willing to take questions. Let's start from this side of the room. What do you say? What's your name?
Jimmy Design.
How are you doing, Jimmy?
What about the minhag of putting the Pesach Seder plate on top?
Bibhilu yatzanu mimitzrayim. It's a good Arabic word, right? Wrong. It's an Aramaic word that's in the Nusach of the Haggadah of the Rambam. Bibhilu means in a rush. Yatzanu mimitzrayim. We came out of Egypt. I recently saw the Moroccan customs. There's a picture of somebody doing Bibhilu. I said, oh no, it's on Pesach done. Can I take a picture on Pesach? I don't know what happened. Bibhilu yatzanu mimitzrayim is Rav Yosef Benaim wrote the Sefer Noeg de Chochma, right? That it was a zecher le'ananei kavod, zecher that you had the clouds that were enveloping Am Yisrael as they were leaving Mitzrayim, and that's the symbol why we do it. That's the symbol why we do it. Yes.
So if I understand correctly, anything that comes down from your parents or grandparents,
yeah,
you're to keep today. You're to keep those.
Absolutely.
How can we rely on something like that in today's day and age?
Mm-hmm.
When things have become so convoluted and difficult,
Mm-hmm.
all the customs are all mixed up.
Yeah, actually, I forgot to speak about that. Thank you for reminding me. One of the main, I wouldn't call it complaints, but one of the main challenges I'm keeping Moroccan minhagim is every city has their own minhag. How could I know what's right? You ever heard of that before? Every city has every single synagogue. You should know that's not a true challenge. It's a superficial challenge. And the one who told me this originally, when I embarked on this work, I went to see Rabbi Shalom Mishas, and I asked him to write it because he's the one who he's the leader, and he's the one who writes it. He says you write it and just take what I wrote in my sparring. So I didn't take him seriously, but after a while I did take him seriously. And he told me, I told him that all the minhagim are different. He says, not true, most of the minhagim are the same. This is coming from the world expert. And I've seen it over and over again, how the minhagim, I'm not talking about once again the minhagim couscous, that this family does this, that's private minhagim. And you should keep that, but that's not the minhagim I'm talking about. Minhagim I'm talking about is the halachic minhagim, and the halel, and that the mezuzah, and a lot of these, that the Kohen doesn't do Nesiyat Kapayim, and the Tefillah not Tisha B'Av, and all of those that we mentioned are almost universally all the same. Marrakesh is slightly different, because it wasn't as many Migurashim there, but also there, it's almost all the same. Tangiers, is known to keep their minhagim ad hasof, until the end. Ad hasof, until the end. I'm not scared. So this is where in Casablanca, if the people came from Casablanca. Casablanca is it's a place where a lot of different people came, right? So Casablanca is a new city. So a lot of people in Casablanca, if they would come from the south, they wouldn't have. You see, I almost promised myself I'm not going to get into names of cities, because then I'm for sure going to get in trouble. I spoke once in the valley in Los Angeles, and I said, over here is Al Marrakesh. Oh my gosh, they almost stoned me. And I said, but I'll tell you, Tangier is very, very careful on their minhagim. And the minhagim in Tangier are very similar to many of the big cities in Morocco. That's all. It's really all the same. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Walid, the Gadol Ador by the Moroccan community, who came from the Spanish part of Morocco, writes in Vayomer Yitzchak that most of the minhagim started in Fez and branched out. What does that mean? In the original Fez, because that's where all the Migurashim. No, you see, I'm talking. I didn't pay you enough to be. That the minhagim start from a central area. What I was trying to prove is that the minhagim come from a central area, and from there they span. Yes.
In Tangier, I was just asking people. In Tangier themselves was different minhagim. For example, Pesach, not everybody ate chickpeas.
So you're right. There are peripheral minhagim. You're right. I'm not saying you can't say a rule in minhagim. There's always going to be different. But the core, the essence, le noyau, it's all the same. I'm telling you, the mehalech hapsika, it's all the same. There's I'm sure that talit, they didn't wear the talit. In this city, they do wear talit.
Even rice, they used to give to the children in Morocco.
But that's consistent. That's consistent. That really, they held rice is asur, not mitzad gzera, but mitzad chashash. When there's no chashash, they would give it.
Even to the children, they wouldn't have to give it.
They would what?
There were certain cities, even to the children, they wouldn't give it.
Oh, no, all over they wouldn't give it, but in the case of sickness, they would. In case of choli, they would.
We're not talking about this supplement.
Right, but I'm saying that in general, in Kitniyot, everybody held rice as asur. Some held chickpeas, some had everything that's fresh. Those things added on, but there was a certain core that was identical. Marrakech slightly different, but even then, it's not. In the outer, in the banlieue. In other words, I'm not talking about the mountains. It's something different. I'm not going into that. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, we in Israel used to use chicken for kaparot.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that it is Darkei HaNari.
Oh, the Shulchan Aruch says that.
Yeah.
The Shulchan Aruch writes that, and there's a certain organization called PETA that they're very into following that Shulchan Aruch. But the universal custom is like the Arizal, and the Arizal says that in Los Angeles we make sure to do it in the back alley. Right? that the universal custom is to follow the Arizal. There's a lot of tikkunim, and that was accepted in Am Yisrael, despite the fact that Shulchan Aruch writes that everyone follows the Arizal to do it. There's tremendous tikkunim and tremendous Kabbalistic reasons for that. Yes?
The henna, where does that come from?
The henna, I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the honest truth is that there's 4 sections in the Shulchan Aruch. Orach Chaim, Yoredea, which I just finished my book on. Hopefully it'll be printed this year, Be'ezrat Hashem. Then there's Even HaEzer. Even HaEzer talks about issues of marriage and henna. I haven't got the henna yet. Yeah. What do you say?
Is there a view to look at your minhagim, or should you learn what you learn, and whatever you know from your parents?
Excellent question. I asked this question to Rav Elyashiv. Although Rav Elyashiv is not a big expert in Moroccan minhagim, he's an expert on knowing what's called a minhag in general that somebody follows or not. And I asked this question to Rav Elyashiv, and Rav Elyashiv Shlita answered that any minhag that you know about, you keep. You don't have an obligation to go looking for your minhag. Whatever you know from your parents, you keep. Whatever you don't know, you don't have to keep. You like that? Yeah. You have his approval? He has your approval? You're right.
Most of the people that we can't tell someone they know.
I don't know.
No, also someone else.
I don't know. I'll look into that. I was hoping that I have some questions over here that, like this, I'll look into that.
What is the source of not wearing tefillin other than Tisha B'Av?
Oh, that's excellent question. Wearing tefillin on mincha of a fast day, other than Tisha B'Av, the Shulchan Aruch, the Bet Yosef writes, that's the custom. The Bet Yosef writes that that's the custom so that you can have more brachot, like the Rav said over here, that since we're missing 100 brachot, usually you have 100 brachot during the day, you're supposed to do 100 brachot. But when you don't eat, you're missing brachot. Shulchan says put on tefillin so you have an extra bracha. And talit, you have an extra bracha. I've seen some Syrians do it. I've seen some. Erev Yom Kippur also? Okay, that I don't know. I don't know why. But maybe extra Kedusha. Maybe Erev Yom Kippur, maybe extra Kedusha. I've seen it, yes. Musavi, am I right? Yes. Okay, I think that's our allotted time.